Hi everyone, Jen here for Graphic 45 with you today. And I have created for this month's challenge, which is the G45 Home Decor Challenge, create something home decor themed for using some of your Graphic 45 papers. And I have created this fun home decor piece, as you can see. This is a cake styled box, and I will house a folio in the bottom portion, the bottom tier of this. And I've used the Graphic 45 circle boxes for this, and I wanted to just walk you through what I've used to create my box. So as far as the papers, most of what I've used here, with the exception of this piece here that I cut out of the 12 by 12, most of these are from the 8 by 8. Now, for the box itself, I used a parchment colored flat acrylic paint on the boxes on the edges so that they all worked well with the floral. And the floral that I've used here, in addition to fussy cutting from the paper of the butterflies and the flowers, I also used the flowers that are from Graphic 45 in the red as well as the Ivory and Natural collection, and some of the greenery from that as well. So walking through the papers in the 8 by 8 collection, it's a beautiful collection. And this makes for a great little keepsake that you can display to put some of your wedding pictures, or a fun Valentine's Day that you want to remember. Like I said, there'll be a little folio in the bottom. So this piece in the frame, and I do have a tutorial on how I made this box frame on the top for my cake topper. But this image that you see here was cut from the 12 by 12 sheet of Mon Amour, which is your first sheet in the pack. And then for this top tier of the cake here, this is the reverse side of, let me just grab, it is called True Love. And I just want to show you which one that is. If I have any more of it. I did use a lot of this 8 by 8 collection, and I don't see that one here. So I don't think that I have any more of the True Love in the 8 by 8 to show you. I do not. So the True Love is this gorgeous script. I have a piece of, oh, I do have it. I apologize. I just didn't get far enough down my stack here. Here we go. So True Love, the side A is with all the couples, and then side B is that beautiful script. And I also will tell you that I used a circle cutter. If you have dies or are really good at cutting circles yourself, you can do that as well. This red that you see on this first tier here, that was taken from the Patterns and Solids of Elegance, that collection. A lot of the Graphic 45 collections have colors that coordinate really well with other collections, and I really wanted that tier to be red, so I pulled this pinkish red color from the Elegance collection. So this piece here, as you can see, was pieced together, and it goes all the way around my tier. I just thought it looks like a film strip, and that is taken from, let me just get to that, not that one. Gotta find them all. I just want to make sure I tell you the right papers, because I did not do a tutorial specifically for the box itself. I did do a tutorial for the frame. So this is the Forever Mine A side, and I just cut these in strips, and then I pieced them together so that it would go all the way around that box. Okay. Down here, I use strips of some of the paper. I also have some of the glitter washi tape from Graphic 45. As you can see here, the black in the background. This is one of the borders. This is also one of the borders. And these were taken from the 12 by 12 collection. And that is from, just find it. I don't know them by heart. That's from the 12 by 12 sheet off to the side here of One and Only, side A. So I cut those, and I had to cut, again, 2 pieces to wrap them all the way around. Okay? So that is that. Now, when I put this together, I wanted the larger, obviously, 6-inch box on the bottom so that I could have a folio inside. So this piece here was glued to the other piece to put it so it was a little taller. I flipped them, and then I glued it to the top. And as you can see, when you open, it's a little bit of a tight fit here. I did embellish the top of the box, and then again the underside and around this. Now this is the 12 by 12, what I put inside here, of the side A of Dearest Darling. And then the bottom was cut out of a circle cutter, and that one is the bottom underside of Mon Amour with all the little sayings on it. And that is how I did that. And again, I used that white, off-white parchment colored flat paint on the inside of the box so that you could see it. And then there's a sheet of black. This was also taken from Elegance to cover my bottom portion. So that is the papers that I used. I will also tell you that I did take a 12 by 12 sheet of the Dearest Darling papers and cut it all out. All of the roses and butterflies were cut from it, and that is where these roses and butterflies came from. And you will also see those inside of the folio itself. So on to the next, which will be my tutorial on how I made this fun little frame to put on the top of my cake. Hi everyone, Jen here for Graphic 45 with you today. Today I'm working on a Graphic 45 home decor piece featuring Mon Amour. And I am going to show you how to make these fun little frames that we'll put together to make this fun home decor piece. So we're going to start with that base frame. You'll need some of your 3x4 cut apart sheets. And I will tell you, these are a shadow box style, so they're 1/2 inch deep. And these are made so that if you really wanted to, you could put pictures of your own in here. These are being used as part of my video so that you can see what can go in here, but you could take a 3x4 picture of your own, of course, and put it in there. So I'm going to use this one. Here I use this Fun Couple one, and what we're going to do is take a 10.5 inch wide by 9.5 inch tall sheet of ivory, or whatever color you choose, of cardstock. I'm going to grab a bone folder over here. And what you want to do is you want to score at 3/4, 1 1/4, 2, and 2 1/2. And we're going to do that on all sides. So turn your paper, do that again. 3/4, 1 1/4, 2, and 2 1/2. Like I said, we're going to do that on all sides. So I'm going to get those done here. And what that's going to give you is a 3/4 inch frame all the way around your 3x4 cut apart when this is done. And then there's 1/2 inch spaces in between those. Okay? So this is what you'll have. I'm not quite sure how well the camera picks up that. Now, what you want to do next is we want our ends, 2 of them, to be cut out. So what I want you to do is put this on the 9.5 side. These are going to be our 2 smaller ends. And what we're going to do is go from that 2 1/2 mark over to the 3 1/4 mark, and that's going to give us 3/4 of an inch from the 2 1/2 to the 3 1/4, and you're just going to score up to that second line. Okay, do that on the other side as well. This one will go on the 6 1/4, and just score up to those 2. Flip it over and do the same thing on the other end, making sure you're at your 9 1/2. So right at that 3 1/4, you want to go up to that second line, and that 6 1/4 go up to that second line. And what that's going to do is guide us for cutting. So there's part of this we won't need. I'm going to grab some scissors here. What you want to do is go to that 3/4 inch line that you cut, or excuse me, that you scored. We're going to cut all the way up it to that line. And then you want to put your scissors in and angle this. So we're going to miter all the way at an angle over to that next line, which is your third line. Cut up, leaving that square there. And then we're going to go over here and we're going to cut all the way up. I will show you as soon as this is cut out what you have here. So we're going to do that on both sides, and this is what we cut out. So again, on that 3/4 mark that we made up to the second line, we're going to cut over, and then you're going to turn your scissors and angle, cut it, cut up. And you want to get a good cut on this because you need to be able to fold this over to make a nice frame. I'm going to go ahead and cut that out. Okay, and this is what you'll have. And I'm going to do that on both ends. Up to that second line. Miter it over. Try to angle your scissors so they match the angle from where you cut up to that corner. Hopefully that makes sense. And again, last one, I'm going to go up. So basically, if you take your scissors on that line where you cut up to the second and point the tip of your scissors to that top corner, you should get a nice miter all the way over to that top corner, and then cut up and cut that other piece out. And you only need to do this on those ends. You can also measure with your ruler. You're going to have, so what you'll do next is just take a ruler. I'm going to grab this ruler and a pencil, and I want to mark 3/4 from that last score line in. So I have 3/4 in here. I'm going to turn my paper, and I'm going to make sure that I put my 3/4 mark in the same spot. So we have our 3/4 there, we have our 3/4 here. I'm going to go ahead and erase that other mark. And I am going to do the same thing on this side. I'm going to go in from that top line, 3/4. And usually I try to eyeball these a little, but it doesn't always come out the way I want. As you can see, when we do this line, I'm way over here. So this is my 3/4 mark. This is just going to be a little guide for me to figure out where to place that. And now, as you can see here, I can put this on my 4, line it up with that dot there, go over from the 4 to 3/4 and mark it right here. Same with this one. I'm going to line this up here, put that 4 on that 4th score line, and I'm going to go in 3/4 of an inch. And now I can see that where the corners of my cut apart need to go. Okay, easy peasy, just like so. And then we're just going to go ahead and glue this down. With those corners of the paper on those corners that we just drew. And if it's a little off, it's okay. I mean, you don't have to be exact. As close as possible is always good. Burnish that out. Now what we want to do is fold all of our score lines in. And I'm using a regular weight 65-pound pot. It might be actually a little thicker than 65 cardstock. And it is ivory, is what I have chosen. Right now I'm just going to go around and get my score lines burnished lightly. I don't need a super harsh burnish on these yet, because sometimes you want to make sure everything lines up before doing so. So those are all nicely burnished. Now you want to roll your 2 without the tapered ends in first, and that to line it up to see if we're going to match up, and we are. So I'm going to roll this one in, and I can see that that one does too, so we can go ahead and put these down. So what you want to do next is just fold this so that this line, the one that is going to go under, is towards you. I am going to use some score tape and glue. Just make sure I get a nice hold. I'm going to fold this down, and I'm going to add score tape to the outside edge of that 3/4 inch piece. And then I'm going to go ahead and burnish a little better where I did it lightly before. I want to burnish a little bit nicer. I got a little too much tape here, so I'm going to cut that off so it doesn't cause any sticking. And I'm going to peel that off. And then I'm going to add just a little bit of glue to that so that we have a nice tight hold. But with this, by using score tape instead of just the glue, I'm able to stick this down immediately. And that is essential with these frames. So you want to turn that all the way in. And then I'm just going to use a pencil without a lead on it, obviously. And I am going to get that burnish down, that glue and that tape in there. On both ends, because it will try to roll out of there on you. And this one did. Okay, 1 second here. Mine is not sticking properly, so I'm going to pull that back up for a minute here. Let's see. You want to make sure that you don't roll it too far, but because it needs to lay down. And it should lay right, if you measured correctly, it should lay right up against your cut apart in the middle there. And mine wasn't at first, but it is now. So you get a nice square frame. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Add some score tape to the outer edge here, the raw edge. And I'm going to go ahead and burnish my paper as well as that score tape. Peel that off. Add some glue. And you don't want to add too much glue because it really isn't a necessity. You don't need a lot. Just enough to make sure that your paper is lining up. Go ahead and stick my pencil up in there. And roll that frame in there. Okay, now we have 2 of our sides. This one is just a little off. I'm not quite sure what is happening there. And then for these ends, this is where you'll see why we tapered these. We want to make sure before we add any glue or anything that we've cut enough and done enough mitering for these to go together. And I did, so I'm going to go ahead and I am going to add some score tape, do a little bit of burnishing on these score lines so that they're nice and crisp. And then I'm going to add score tape to that little end there. Ooh, I'm out of score tape there. Use that one up. I go ahead and peel that backing off and add a little bit of glue, not a lot. And you want to hold on to your frame sides when you do this, just to make sure everything comes together. And it does take a little bit of maneuvering when you roll that in there. And you won't have the option of sticking a pencil in, so you have to kind of turn it over and use a tool to just kind of push it down up against that tape on the back. Okay, and then you'll see it'll try to give way. And what you need to do with that is stick a little bit of glue on these corners and either hold it for a moment or use a clip or something of that nature. When we put paper on it, it will pull it together. As you can see on this one, when we put our border pieces on there, it will pull that together a little bit better. But I like to stick a little glue on the corners just for added strength. Push that down, and you can use a clip to do this, or if you have the patience, just kind of hold it down until your glue sticks. And this one is a little bit far over. You want to try to get a nice crisp corner, and then your frame will look nice and square. Okay, so next I am going to add my score tape to this end. This is a little bit bigger piece of score tape because my other one ran out. I do believe this is 3/4 inch, so it almost covers that whole tab there. Add a little bit of glue. I'm going to put some glue on my corners on the outside here. And then I'm just going to roll that in there. And then you can see we have our frame here. And that ends up being 5.5 by 4.5. And we will add paper to this, just as I did here. So these are 3/4 inch. And so what you will have here is 5 3/8 on the top and bottom by 5 3/8 by excuse me, by 5/8 for here, for the board, for the if you're doing a mat, for the mat. And then on the sides it's 4 3/8 by that 5/8. For the other strip, you will do 5 1/8 by 3/8, and then the sides is 4 1/8 by 3/8 for your other strips. And those are mitered just to make a nice frame, or you could just cut the whole frame out and place it on there. Whatever works better for you. And when you add your paper to this, you can move this around a little bit just to make it a little easier to maneuver. Okay, so that's the frame, and I will show you the rest of the project.